New Thought Media Network. We are a global broadcast network of positive music, media, and entertainment, inspiring humanity's evolution along the journey of enlightenment and creating a world of love, peace, empowerment, and prosperity for all. New Thought Media Network. Positively inspiring.
Well, hi, hello. It's me, yes, Bonnie Gonzalez, your doula for grief. And I am just so excited to be with you today. And just want to say, if you're returning, oh my goodness, I'm honored and welcome back. And if you're new, if this is your first time tuning in, I'm truly honored. Just sit back, relax, listen. If anything comes to mind, you can, if any question comes to mind, any comment, we have a comment box and you can drop that right into the comment box and be an interactive part of the show. Make this hour about yourself as well, listening and sharing your ideas and opinions on grief. And I am a grief coach, a registered nurse, and a religious science practitioner. And then add on to that, a soul collage facilitator. Just here to continue the dialogue on grief. And I can assure you that you've come to the right place today to start your journey of befriending and healing from grief. By starting your own personal journey to befriending and healing from grief, you become guides to allow others to start their own personal journey. And this is how we heal one by one by one, healing together. You know, we are social creatures. We cannot heal in isolation. I think that's a famous quote from Bell Hooks that says, we can't heal in isolation. So one by one, we confront our grief on a level that is personal for us. Everybody grieves differently. We're all such unique, beautiful, beautiful lights and spirits here on the planet, but we're all truly uniquely different. What is that like? There's no two snowflakes alike. Well, that's us humans. So back to our purpose for being here, to really share and deepen our understanding of grief. And knowing that grief is caused by loss. And loss is defined as any expected or unexpected occurrence where you can't go back to the way things were before. Of course, death is the biggest one that we all know about. But divorce, a diagnosis of an illness, a geographical move, a natural disaster, also the birth of a child, puberty, aging, graduation, job promotions, all of those things can thrust us into grief because of a loss of a previous way of being in our lives. And then grief is just defined as a collection of normal, natural emotions that follow a loss. And those emotions can include sadness and anger, numbness, confusion, guilt, anxiety, joy. The list goes on. So just knowing that whatever you feel, it's okay. Because all of those emotions are a natural response to loss. So I am so excited for my guest today. I just can't wait for us to jump right into our theme of today is healing from loss and grief with a shamanic practitioner. And I tell you, I have had some stellar, outstanding guests on this program. And today is no different. The top of the mark. Today, I have Kent Dorsey on as my special guest. And Kent is a shamanic practitioner, teacher, mentor, and spiritual healer. Kent studied at the Foundation for Shamanic Studies under Dr. Michael Harner, which we've all heard of, and Sandra Ingerman. And Sandra is a world renowned teacher of shamanism and has been for over 40 years. So Kent has had extensive studies with Sandra Ingerman, with an emphasis solely on how to teach shamanism in our diverse Western culture. Kent continued his advanced studies with many influential teachers. Kent is a member of the Society of Shamanic Practitioners, the Center for Shamanic Healing, Earth Spirit Way, and the Vision Drum and Journey Circles. Please help me welcome my special guest today, Kent Dorsey. Hello, Kent. How are you?
I am
Thank
great.
you.
I'm so happy to be joining you today.
I am just really honored. I'm elated. So I don't want to continue talking for another minute. I want to hear from Kent. And Kent, I thought we could start out by you just explaining what is a shamanic practitioner? What is that?
Um, okay. um, well, as Bonnie and I talked earlier, I just wanted to acknowledge that today is Indigenous Peoples Day. And I became interested in this because my uncle, who's passed, but was full-blood Navajo.
Mm.
And he was an uncle by marriage, and he was unfortunately someone that went through the Indian schools system.
Yes.
You know, that really was about cultural annihilation and
Stripping.
literal.
Mm-hmm.
And he was, you know, raised by a nice Quaker family,
Mm.
and you know, and literally, he didn't come out that he was Native American until I was 35. And he was so traumatized by this experience that it really, really struck me. I have a strong feeling of not participating in any cultural appropriation.
Mm-hmm.
So that's how I so as I was led to shamanism, or what we're calling shamanism now, and again, the word shaman comes from basically one tribe in Siberia.
Mm-hmm.
And again, with cultural appropriation, anthropologists sort of turned it into a brand name for any culture that had something that looked like this.
Yes.
So most, you know, native cultures around the world will get really upset if you call them shamans, or they've just accepted it because it's popular. But, and, you know, after the January 6th thing with the QAnon shaman, it's like I'm almost loath to use the word. But the reason that I would call myself a shamanic practitioner is a community that you are in service to is the only group that can name someone a shaman. I mean, if someone is like hanging a shingle out, calling themselves a shaman, you know, I literally would run in the opposite direction.
Wow.
unless the person is out of a native tradition, and
Hmm.
it's their birthright. So
Could,
you
could
know,
I ask a question briefly,
yeah,
Kent? So in Native American culture tribe, and I know now Native American may be questionable as a term to use. I've heard First Nation uh, used to replace the word of Native American,
mm,
First Nation. So what would that? I'll just use this word then. What would that holy man be called, and what is the term that would be used in First Nation culture?
it literally depends on the tribe.
So it's very individualized then.
Right,
Yes.
right. So that said, um, the spiritual practices that are now being called shamanic
Hmm.
are, something that when I started studying this 30 years ago,
Yeah.
and at that point in time, the conservative anthropologists said it had been around for 40,000 years.
Oh.
Most of that has pushed back to about 100,000 years.
Mm.
So this is a
Ancient.
spiritual tradition that was on every continent,
Hmm.
you know,
Hmm.
with very, different cultural lenses, but they were really, really similar.
Hmm.
And it's essentially animism.
Hmm.
So, and so right now with the whole climate crisis,
Yes.
so many nations are calling for indigenous people to lead about
Mm.
climate and social justice. And one of the main reasons that is the cultures that still held on to their spiritual and beginning spirituality um, basically had a worldview that we're all part of one being, that everything is
Mm.
alive.
Yeah, oneness. Yes.
And part of what's happened through Western culture is a belief that we're separate.
Yes.
And
Yes. Yes.
so for me, one of the main ways to deal with grief is to actually become reconnected to spirit on the spirit of nature, to
Mm.
reconnect it and understand that we are part of this huge, immense web of life.
Mm.
That, to clear cut a forest is like cutting off three of our fingers. I mean, we're
Hmm.
all one literal being
Yes. Yes.
and
Um,
system.
right. Right. And I know that I was not socialized in that way of feeling the connection to the earth. That that what happens to me happens to the earth, or what happens to the earth is happening within me. I think that I was not socialized in that way, and have had to come to that understanding through my own personal life experiences, and through my own spiritual um, questioning and seeking, that it has led me now to understand that. And I know, Kent, we talked a little bit before about um, using the shamanistic practice to heal grief. And the grief was around the loss of the connection
Yeah.
to the planet, to Gaia, to Mother. And I asked you at that point, wow, well, what are some of the symptoms? What are some of the indications or indicators in our everyday life that we have lost that connection?
Well, I would say just look around at the planet right now. I mean, really, the disregard for being stewards.
Mm-hmm.
Um, when the Europeans came to South America, North America, um, oh, a lot of the indigenous peoples thought we were insane.
Hmm. Oh, there no
You know,
respect for what
flat
they.
out did not understand the concept of greed, of conquest. They did, but, and believe me, this is not to romanticize indigenous culture,
Yes.
but um, some of the work I've done has been with the Karo people, which
Mm.
are from the high Andes in Peru, and they get very upset if someone calls them a shaman. They consider
Oh.
themselves to be mystics. Um,
Mm. Oh, yes, I
you know,
resonate to that term.
but but they had a saying of someone asked them what's wrong with North America, and they said
Mm.
they're dreaming the wrong dream.
Ooh. Ooh. Ooh.
And that's a dream of separation and a dream of power over.
Mm.
And that, for me, is the main consequence. I mean,
Mm.
not just from the pandemic, but I saw um, a poll that 60% of Americans answered that they were lonely and felt
Mhm.
alone.
Mhm.
And part of what's gone on in our culture is we've lost the idea of benefiting a group, that it's become so based on dealing with an individual and the power
Yes.
of the individual. And that, on one level, is fine, and another level is completely disempowering.
Mhm. Mhm.
I mean, it isolates us, and I think that's one reason, being in the lockdowns and the pandemic hit. It was so, it was a literal manifestation, I think, of what people have been feeling
All
before,
along.
all along.
Yes. Mhm. And it's
So,
only amplified it and made it more
so what,
intense.
yeah. So what really put grief on the radar for me is I started paying a lot more attention to the climate crisis and went through the Al Gore training, and woke up in Oakland one morning and the sky was orange, and it
Yeah.
was orange the entire
Yes.
day, and the rest of that
Mhm.
summer I'd wake up every morning and check the air quality to see if it was safe to go outside.
Mhm.
you know that
Yes.
that caused a grief in myself,
Mhm.
and for me that grief activated me.
Mm.
you know
Yes, it's the
but
motivator.
but
Yes.
it's like I still realize I have a little bit of a PTSD response to if I smell wood smoke.
Oh, yeah. Yes.
I go,
Yeah.
or where I'm living, it's near a firehouse. So every time the sirens go by, it's like, you
Yeah.
know, I get
Traumatizing.
tweaked. So,
Mhm.
but that's really how I started looking at um, what tools do I have, not just for myself, but to share around healing grief, or
Mhm.
not healing it, but being able to process it. Because as you know, I mean, it's not something that if you deny it, you can't heal it.
Right. And my expression is if you can heal it, if you can feel it, you can heal it. Yeah.
No,
Really.
exactly. So one of the things that isn't particularly shamanic, but I've um, wound up getting hooked up with a woman named Jess, that's from Scotland, that started an
Yeah.
organization and an event called the Climate Cafe. And it
Yes.
was 12 of her friends got together, and they were so freaked out by the whole climate issue. They just
Mhm.
wanted to talk, So they
Yes.
literally went to a cafe, had a cup of tea, and felt better. And this has turned into a worldwide organization. The Scottish government's
Hmm.
now adopting it as a,
Wow.
and it's an amazing thing. But the healing happens because, and it is a healing environment. The way these are set up is it's kind of non-moderated. It's just people coming together, knowing it's a space safe,
Hmm.
and being able to talk.
Exactly.
What a
Exactly. Yes.
concept. And I know they based a lot of it off of the grief or the
A death
death
cafe.
cafe.
Yes, yes. I was just going to explain that to those people that are listening. That along with the climate cafe, uh, there's also death cafe, and it's not like grief support. It's just coming together to give voice to what we feel about death, because
Yeah,
so much fear is around that. And once you can give voice to it, give words to it, you can deflate some of that fear. And Kent, I believe that's what you're saying with the Climate Cafe, to come give a voice to your concern, your fear.
so we're actually in the process of becoming affiliated with that organization, and we'll be holding climate cafes in the future,
Here,
both online and hopefully back in
yeah.
person.
And
Um,
and can anybody host? Can anyone host a cafe, a climate cafe, if they wanted to? Can
oh,
they get in touch
absolutely.
with you and get the information on how to do that? I feel that anytime we can come together and talk, because as I said in the opening, you can't heal in isolation, and this
Right.
is bringing us out of that
Right.
isolation.
Well, I know, I mean, this organization is based out of Scotland, but it's going international, and
Mm-hmm.
you can just Google Climate Cafe.
Climate
And
cafe.
there's also in Scotland and Europe, and there's an American um, affiliate of, I want to say it's Climate Psychology Association.
Mm-hmm.
Sorry, I didn't look that up beforehand.
Oh,
But
that's
they
okay.
they also run climate cafes, and they
I
are
see.
much more about processing feelings.
Right,
And
right.
while that's inherent in what they're doing with the Scottish model is a little bit more on focused on moving through that to generating positive action around climate.
Great, great.
So,
Kent, I'm just going to take a minute to acknowledge our wonderful listeners here. We have a Megan, and hello, Megan. She says, "Hi, stranger," because I've been missing from Mexico for a couple weeks. They're going to have to put out an Amber Alert. Where's Bonnie Gonzalez? I'll be back in a few weeks. And then we have Wayne. Oh, I'm a captain now. Thank you, Wayne. I salute when you turn on the program. And there's also another Bonnie, dear, lovely, lovely Bonnie Olmsted. And she says, hello. Wayne is steer with pure love. And then Megan has a question here for you, Kent. She says, what is the difference between a shaman and medicine man slash woman?
none.
Oh,
Ba-
the words, the letters, the spelling.
no, no. Basically, it comes out of what um, different traditions would call themselves. I mean,
Oh,
I tend to call them medicine people,
hmm,
um, as being, you know, but I'm sure, within a specific culture, there's a lot of differences. I mean, I know one of the things in the anthropological use of the term is someone using drums to
hmm.
alter consciousness. Um,
Oh, you mean the difference between a medicine man and a shaman, a medicine person, or a shaman
Mm.
would be the drumming. So does that mean a shaman would drum, but a medicine person would not?
Well, no, because they may in their culture. I mean, it's totally culturally specific.
So you answered it correctly right away. None.
Yeah.
None was the operative word. And thank you, Megan, for that question. Now we both know, because that was my question too. Um, we had to, Bonnie Armstead was saying that, yes, we are disconnected. We are disconnected. And that brings me to a question, Kent. If someone, I mean, your client, what do we want to call them? Do we want to call them a client?
Yeah,
Do we
fine.
want to call them a person? A dear
Fine,
being
fine.
comes to you. A dear being comes to you, and they are truly in deep grief. And grief, regardless of the loss, shows itself in different ways. Even if we're grieving the loss of our beautiful planet, grieving, the loss of a dear friend, we're still in grief. How would you work with them from a shamanic practitioner stance? How would you work with them to help move them through their grief?
Well, the first
Good
thing,
question.
yeah, no, small little question. I know. The first thing I really would do is to um, invite them to participate in a gratitude process.
Mm,
And for me, gratitude is the first step for healing. And in terms of this, it would be no matter what's going on in your life, it's gratitude for still being alive.
mhm.
I mean, I literally do this, this day I have a morning practice. I get up and I give thanks for being here.
Mhm.
And I give
Yeah.
thanks to all, one of
Mhm.
the Native American terms I do love is all our relations, all my relations. And,
Mhm.
that's all of the rest of life on the planet,
Mhm.
and there's so much. Just give thanks for what gives us life.
Mhm.
People
Yes.
over the years have made a lot of fun of tree huggers, but,
Hug a
when you,
tree.
go hug a tree,
Yes.
however, and not even go hug, but just thank the tree, thank a plant
Mhm.
for providing oxygen for us. As
Yes.
we
Yes.
breathe in and breathe out, we wouldn't be here without the plants, without the
Mhm.
trees.
Yes. Yes.
And, and so depending, depending where the person is, and if we had time, I would love to teach them how to do a shamanic journey for themselves.
Yes, that's what I was hoping you'd get to, Kent, so
You
that
know, no,
you can
um,
share that. Yes.
and a shamanic journey, um, and in our terms, is using drums or rattles. It's sound driven. Um, there's a specific beat that
Mhm.
um, we can get into that literally they've done a lot of brain scan work on this, and it's fascinating because we figured this out whatever it was 100,000 years ago.
Mhm.
But
A
this
hundred
particular,
thousand years ago. Yes. Yes.
yeah,
This is ancient. What's
yeah,
that
no,
ancient wisdom?
something that
Yes.
always made me smile is Michael Harner had a saying when anyone would sort of bring up, oh, this is just New Age,
Uh,
hooey. He said, this isn't New Age, this is Stone Age. You know,
yes. Yes. I call it
and
with ancient wisdom. Ancient.
it really, no, it really is. But what this drum beat will do is it literally physiologically entrains our brain waves
Mhm.
from a normal waking beta down through alpha into theta.
Yes.
And there's a lot of ways to get there, but theta is where spiritual experiences happen. It's where you can get there through dance, you can get there through chanting, you can get there through meditation. And I just found and find the drumming pretty much universally works for almost everyone. And you can listen to this drumming for 15 minutes and it can be your first time and it will shift consciousness.
So beautiful, Ken. And before you move on, I want to go back to a comment that we have in the comment box that you talked about gratitude. And Bonnie Armstead, Bonnie Champion Armstead says, also being grateful for the person who was lost. I couldn't grieve my husband's loss if I was not very grateful for the love we shared, our lives together. I consider myself lucky. So I just wanted to make sure I read that. That so validates exactly what you've said, Kent, about being grateful.
Yeah.
And
well,
Bonnie, thank you, honey, for sharing that. I know, yes, I know that it's, for me, it's very touching. It's very touching. Thank you, Bonnie. And I want to say Wayne is still here with us. Wayne, he's writing it down. He's cooking with Billy Idol. And he feels that us light workers are united. So thank you, Wayne, Bonnie, and Megan.
So, Bonnie, something I wanted to say about gratitude is I'll break it down into 3 pieces. And Bonnie Armstead, you know, what you went through is exactly right. Is the first part is appreciation. It's appreciating and valuing what's happened. You know, the experience of your love. And then the other is attribution, of attributing, if it's someone else is involved, really honor if it's another person, a group or whatever, you know, the planet, honoring that. And then not just feeling gratitude, but giving thanks, you know, and really sort of, it gives it legs, it gives it power to move out. And
yes, thank you. And I'll just add that when you start ruminating, even a great way to break rumination is falling into gratitude, to have a different, I'd say, a different loop playing of gratitude. So that attitude of gratitude or heart of gratitude will definitely help move you through that healing process. So I so apologize, Kent. You were talking about alpha and theta and beta waves because Kent is going to give us a little sample of what drumming is like. It's if you were going into shamanic journey, but I'm going to let Kent tell you about that. Okay.
Yeah.
Yes.
So what a shamanic journey will do is allow us to have a direct experience and conversation with spirit. So, you know, so many different traditions talk about hearing the small, still voice. Well, this is a way to go in and have a dialogue with sometimes a very loud voice. You know, so it's a way to have literally a direct connection. And what I found so fascinating, when I began studying this, a little over half of the people that I was training with were some type of therapist. You know, maybe 60%. And the majority of that group were coming with the idea that what showed up as spirit was some sort of psychological manifestation, another piece of ourselves or higher self. What? Then the other half came looking at it as if this spirits were discrete beings.
Mm-hmm.
you know, outside. And this particular group, this was a 3-year training, and by the time uh, what we primarily were learning were different healing techniques, different
Mm.
healing modalities. And what fascinated me is they worked. It didn't matter if you believed they were psychological, and it
Yes.
didn't matter if you believed it was a helping spirit. You went and did it, and both groups got equally good results.
Mm-hmm.
And
Mm-hmm.
I must admit that I came in more on the psychological side, and
Yes.
after all my years of doing this, I'm totally on the spirits are real side. So, um, but what the drumming allows us to do is to, it creates, it puts us in, Harner would call it a shamanic state of consciousness, but it literally shifts our consciousness to a point where we can communicate, see, and by see I mean perceive other beings and perceive life. So one of the things when someone can begin to journey is to journey in nature and
Mm.
journey to meet the spirit of a tree, of a plant, of a flower, of a rock. And I know it sounds crazy, but we literally can have conversations with them and get
Mm.
information from them. And if someone came to me and was in true deep distress, there's a healing that is it's interesting because it's actually something that happens to a lot of people as a spontaneous initiation when they start doing
Mm.
this work.
Uh-huh.
It's unpleasantly called a dismemberment.
Yes, I've heard the term. But for
You know,
those that haven't, please explain.
and what can happen is if someone is in a journey, the, the rules of the game are basically set up so that the beings that we meet are only compassionate.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Okay. And therefore, our healing, our evolution, that is a given of that's, and it's too much to go into now is how we set those boundaries, but that's who we're dealing with. So one of the compassionate beings can come to someone in a journey and basically take their body apart.
Mm-hmm.
And what happens in the, I mean, it's quite, I mean, it can be quite literal. It can be, I've been eaten by
A wild
jaguar.
pig, a boar,
You know,
or
no,
something.
I've been, you know, I mean, I was eaten by a jaguar and then digested and then released back into the forest and, you know, broken down into molecules. I've been, you know, set on fire and burned to ashes. And what that does is it, as a healing, this takes us back to really a place of being in union. All that's left is our whole true self, our whole true spirit. And it's a way to really see and remember who and what we are. And once someone can get down there, so this is a healing technique that can be used for physical illness.
Mm-hmm. Oh,
So,
okay.
you know,
Yes.
so you can come down, and if someone is having a knee issue,
Mm-hmm.
a
Mm-hmm.
heart issue, whatever, they can be dismembered and then remembered, you know, in their template of perfection that we came in before life happened.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Now we can do the exact same thing for emotional pain.
Mm.
And that's how this,
Oh,
I'm
for
going to do this
emotional
as
pain.
grief, is And the best way to connect, and understand that we're all one in nature is to have a union experience.
Is to have a what? I didn't hear
A
you.
union experience.
Oh, a union where, okay, you feel a connection.
Where, literally, get down to understand and know and sense that you are everything in the universe or the multiverse or how far ever out. And once you have that, once you experience that, it isn't an intellectual proposition. It is something that is in your core. And that's one thing that's attracted me over the years to the shamanic work, is that it's all experiential.
Mm-hmm.
It's.
And there's, yes. It's.
But the dismemberment is an amazing experience. And I know it sounds strange, but it is truly healing. So
I'm feeling, personally, I feel that nothing is really strange. It's just that I haven't heard that before, or I haven't thought in that way before. I haven't seen healing defined in that way before. So therefore, when you say strange, I'm in curiosity about life. And so I encourage others to be in curiosity versus writing something off right away, like, oh, that's too weird, that's too strange. Or just, I invite people to be in curiosity around it. And being open. You never know what is going to be your unique path to heal. As I said, we all experience grief in different ways, so we all heal in different ways. And I just had a wonderful person join, Alex, that says he just tuned in. So hello, Alex. Thank you for joining. And Wayne is hanging in there with a white circle with a silver ring around it. So we are in the white light.
Thank you, Wayne.
Thank you, Wayne. So I wanted to ask, with that said, with you talking about the dismemberment and then the remember, to be remembered, if you wanted to give us a sample of the rhythm that you use to take people on a shamanic journey.
Sure.
Would you do that? And we could, if you explain a little bit, and then we'll listen. If you want to drum for 2 or 3 minutes. Kent said that the quality.
I'll drum for a little bit, and let's just, I'm always.
All righty, let's just drum.
We'll just see how it is. So
what should we do? What should we do to prepare?
Just listen. Usually, if someone has headphones or earbuds, that sounds better than little computer speakers. So this basically is 4 to 6 beats a second. It's just a straight 4 beat, and that matches the period of the theta brainwaves.
Mm-hmm.
They, like I said, there's been several different studies on the drumming and how it affects the brainwaves and all that. And a fascinating thing for me is they've found that a pure tone at that free number of beats per second doesn't do anything. Mm-hmm. So if it's just one frequency, but drums, rattles, even, some cultures use sticks, click sticks, all produce very complex sounds. So there's a single tone and harmonics and overtones, undertones, and it's all of that at this rate seems to be what does the entrainment. So
okay.
So anyway, here we go.
Mm. Mm.
And if you think of, well, first off, um, the, what this
Mm.
is a human birthright to be able to do this, to be able to journey. It doesn't take a special person. When I started learning this, about a little under 50% of the people that attempted to journey the first time were able to journey.
Mm.
And pretty much now it's up to about 90-95% on the first time.
Wow.
And
First
I've really seen a change in literal consciousness, I think, on the planet. And that's over, 30 years. So,
What do you attribute to that? Sudden heightened awareness around.
well, I think people are waking up.
Mm.
People are moving. People are understanding more and more that we really are a manifestation of consciousness, of spirit, of the divine. I mean, it's that mixture of where spirituality is taking us, and now where quantum science, physics are starting to come in and say the exact same things. So,
okay. And with that said, Kent, for those people that are watching shamanic journey, shamanic drumming, maybe new for them, what can they do right now? How can they start? What would you recommend?
well, so just to say, so what I learned, if you weren't on at the beginning, I very specifically wanted to find a path that was honoring to different cultures and not being culturally not appropriate. So, Michael Harner, who was an anthropologist that he was one of the first anthropologists to actually break the barrier of just being an observer, and started to participate with the different cultures. And he recognized, after he had about 10 cultures, that all were describing the same cast of characters in their spiritual world and cosmologies, through different cultural lenses, but they're all the same. He put together a version of this that he called core shamanism.
Yes.
That is a distillation of each of the healing practices while not replicating any specific culture. So that's where I came from. Although I have worked with people in Tuva, I have worked with the Karo, and they're wonderful, and I love that. And it's, so unless you can be adopted by some indigenous healer, looking for someone that is trained in a version of core shamanism, I think, is a good, safe way to do it. Sandra Ingerman, I was part of her group when she did this, was concerned that there were a lot of people out there teaching what they didn't really know, and it wasn't good to teach. So she has a group of people she's trained, and she's very hardcore about integrity and about all of that. So she has a website that's sandraingerman.com, and you can find lists for wherever you are in the country of people that have been trained that way. And Harner's organization is still here and does great work, and that's the Foundation for Shamanic Studies. And I think it's shamanism.org for that one.
Also, Ken, could someone could someone get a CD, CDs now,
Yeah.
a CD of Michael Horner drumming, and
Yeah.
you
No,
and
there are a plethora of drumming CDs out there. Horner and the Foundation put together a group. There's a little book that, if you're going down that path, I would suggest, that is a beginner's guide to shamanic journeying, and it's by Sandra Ingerman.
hmm
And it's like a little $10 book from, it doesn't matter, but it comes with the CD in the back.
okay.
And it's basically her training on how to journey
hmm
in book form. I know you also can get it as an Audible kind of book.
Yeah, I have it as an Audible, and I find it quite very instructional. I didn't feel that I was going down a path that I didn't understand. She really did teaching before she started the drumming
Yeah.
on the auto. I have the Audible version of her book and just love it. And she takes you through dismemberment and rememberment. So that's my plug for that one.
Yeah. So that, I know you can find it on Amazon. The publisher is Sounds True. I know
hmm
you can get it through them, but
Yes.
that's a great way. I am running a journey circle on Zoom still.
Yes.
That is, you can. There's a. If you guys could put up at some point.
Yeah, Joe, could you put up the meetup that he has, the Journey Circle?
Okay.
Okay, Journey Circle, spiritsong.com.
Okay. So the journey circle
No,
dot
we
spirit
want the
song.
meetup.
No, is the website. That's, yeah,
There you
and
go.
that's the
There you
direct
go.
link to the meetup, and that happens on the third Friday of the month at 7 p.m. Pacific time.
Mhm.
And it actually is intended for people that do know how to journey, but usually half the people that show up haven't ever journeyed.
As you say,
And
because people are waking up and you're getting new people
yeah,
to journey.
yeah. No, so, and it's a way that you can come and experience and see what it is.
Yes. And how can we get in touch with you, Kent? Just for further Q&A, for question answers, insights, revelations.
So the Spirit Song 52, yes, I'm still on AOL. What can I say?
He's the only one, but he's drumming his way out of there.
And there's that, and then the other website is the earthspiritway.com.
Oh, I see. We've got two.
There's more information on that, but just email.
Yeah. And if you can't get to Kent, you can just email your doula for grief.com, and I'll be more than glad to connect you with Kent. And just really, I think if you haven't tried the shamanic journey as a healing modality for your grief, I invite you to. It's a very gentle, loving, nurturing way of moving through what you're feeling, and honoring what you're feeling, honoring it.
That's a major part of it. Is to really, it's really to face it. It's not to deny it, and to be completely in the moment with it.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
To not be in the past thinking about what did happen, and not be frightened of what may happen.
Mm.
But just
Oh,
be,
I'm sorry, Ken. I forgot one thing that you taught me. That you can journey for yourself. You can have your drum and drum at a certain rhythm. I just want you to share that before we go.
no, absolutely. So it's, again, with Western culture, a lot of people have been taught to journey by lying down and either have somebody drum for them or listening to a track. and with your eyes closed. And that is because of our whole sort of monkey mind thing of being so, they just thought that sort of focus would help us Westerners journey easier. Most indigenous cultures don't lay down. They'll get up, they'll dance. Often, most of the shamans will drum for themselves, and at some point may hand a drum over to an assistant, but they'll always begin. And so you can try it. Think of this as it's like a meditation practice. It is the practice. The more you do it, the better, easier it gets. You build up those neural pathways, and it just is easier to go. And yes, you can drum for yourself.
Yes, yes. Thank you, Kent. Was there any last words you'd like to leave our audience with? We'd just be honored to have.
Well, to honor Indigenous Peoples Day, I just found a couple of quotes that really struck me. This one is from a Malwali theologian, is that we live in the web of life in reciprocity with people, other creatures, and the earth, recognizing that they are part of us and we are part of them. Plants, trees, rivers, and the sun are respected and thanked to fellow beings in the larger community of mutual aid. Accept other life forms as part of your extended family.
Wonderful, wonderful.
And I mean, and that's the key, is to recognize that we really are one.
Yes, yes. Oh, Kent, thank you so much. And thanks for that reminder to honor Indigenous Peoples Day. And I love what you said about tree hugging. Maybe let's do something different today. Let's all go out and hug that tree and connect with Gaia. Oh, Kent, thank you so much. And thank you to my beautiful listeners today, Wayne, Alex, Bonnie, Megan. Thank you so much for being a part of this today, for making you the number one person in your life today by joining us to help move through whatever grief you may be in the midst of, and to know that you're not alone. That was one of the big things that Kent was talking about earlier, about that feeling of isolation and disconnection, and that we're not one. We are all one. What affects one affects all. So know that you're not alone. So I thank you so much for being together with me and Kent today. And I'll be back next Monday. Again, Bonnie Gonzalez, your doula for grief, a grief coach. So if you need assistance with moving through this process of grief, please reach out. Remember, Kent has a journey circle every third Friday. Is that correct, Kent?
Right.
Which can be found on Meetup. And so come on, let's meet up and journey together. And let's move through this grief together. So thank you. So yeah, there we are. Meetup.com, Earth, Spirit Way, Shamanic Circle. So see you on the third Friday. Thank you so much, Kent.
Thank you.
Bye for now. Ciao.
New Thought Media Network. We are a global broadcast network of positive music, media, and entertainment, inspiring humanity's evolution along the journey of enlightenment and creating a world of love, peace, empowerment, and prosperity for all. New Thought Media Network. Positively inspiring.